What were we just talking about? We were talking about business
Uh,
and you being in. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you about that journey of like jumping
mm-hmm,
from being a controller into your own thing and starting in August of
mm-hmm.
23, and then now you're full time.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I mean,
and
it was
you
a
got
blast.
married. Wait,
I
did you
got
get married or
engaged.
engaged?
Yeah, I'm
Sorry.
engaged
Okay,
now.
jumping the gun. So that's a lot. That's a lot of like life change.
Yes,
What's that feel like?
it's been a busy past few months.
Yeah.
I kind of like that though. I like always staying engaged and doing something different. Like, I don't know. I don't like the monotonous day to day, like doing the same thing over and over. Some parts of that are nice,
Mm.
but I do like to change it up. I'm kind of a adrenaline junkie in that aspect. I like, whatever life's
Yeah.
gonna throw at me.
How long were you a controller?
3 years.
Okay.
3 years.
So how did you know it was like time to be creative and maybe even start something on your own?
Yeah, I always loved to create. Like I
Uh-huh.
grew up painting and drawing, sewing, anything. And I knew that I always wanted to do something like that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what it looked like yet because all of the jobs you hear about growing up, like lawyer, doctor, veterinarian, like just none of those really resonate.
Mhm.
So I knew that I would have to build it and create it since it didn't exist.
Right.
And that was a fun journey. And of course, it took a while and it was frustrating because I was like, I really need to be, doing something creative. Like, I know that I have these gifts, I want to use them. I just don't know what that is. So
Like, were
it's,
you feeling that because you were
yeah,
bored at the job?
kind of.
Okay.
Um,
I'm always kind of curious, like,
yeah,
why? Because for me, it seems like it ebbs and flows a little bit, where it's
yeah.
like you fall into a heavy admin season
Mm-hmm,
almost, and it's like
mm-hmm.
I'm not being as creative as I want to be, and so
Yeah,
I just kind of
yeah.
noticed that. So,
I enjoyed parts of it,
mhm.
for sure. And it's like I knew, like when I was going to work, I knew what I was doing. I knew what I needed to accomplish, which was really nice.
Mhm.
But then I just felt like I was being like underused, or like I wasn't doing, at being the best person that I could be, or like working at full capacity
Yeah,
per se. It's like I feel like I can offer more, but I just don't know like what that is
yeah. So, how did you land on
on the hats.
on hats? Yeah, I mean, you were talking about all the other creative outlets that it could have been.
Yeah.
So, how'd you get here?
Well, I almost started a custom wedding veil business,
Okay.
because I made my best friends, and I was like, this is kind of fun. I was like, we can name it J. Elizabeth. That's my first initial middle name. I was like,
Hmm.
we'll call it J. Elizabeth, start that. And then, I don't know, I just prayed about it, didn't really go anywhere. And then I was on a bachelorette in Nashville, of course, and watched my friend get one made. And I was like, why don't we have this in Kentucky? Especially Lexington
Uh
with
huh.
Keeneland and the Derby. And I mean, this is perfect. It's an
Yeah.
experience and it's something special that people can carry with them for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So came back from that and I was like, I think we're going to try it. Ordered 2 hats and some stuff, and my brother and I worked together and made them, and then we wore them out here in Lexington. People were like, "Oh my gosh, where did you get that?" I was like, "Okay, so we might move forward with this and
Yeah.
see where it goes."
So how do you know when it's time to, how do you go from a couple inquiries because people see a hat
Mm-hmm.
to I'm going to make this a full-fledged business? Because there's a
Yeah.
lot to that.
I think at that point I was ready to jump already.
Okay.
So getting that little bit of positive feedback, I was like, okay, I think we're going to do it. And I just prayed on it for, a month or two and started still progressing with getting the business branding together and the name and how the structure was going to work. And everything just started to like fall together, and I felt an overwhelming sense of peace with it. I was like, I know that I'm getting a good response from the market. I don't 100% know what it's going to look like, but I think that this is a comfortable time to go forward with it.
Yeah. Are there any sort of challenges at first that you had to overcome?
Yes, um, it takes some time to create each hat,
Uh-huh.
and I'm very much a perfectionist, so I like to make sure every little detail is just perfect. But clearly, you can't do that when you're trying to provide something in a timely manner,
Right.
especially with the business structure that I'm going with, where I don't have a storefront. It's
Mm-hmm.
all pop-ups. So it's a one-on-one collaboration. You pick out your hat and then we work and design it together, and like you leave with it. So I want you to be entertained and involved the whole time rather than just standing there like
Yeah.
When are you going to be done?
Yeah.
So learning how to narrow down like the process and serve quicker completion times took a little trial and error. At first, I was thinking it was going to be like an hour per hat. And whenever we were planning on the launch party, I was working with Nene Edwards over at Harkness Edwards. She was like, what about like 15 minutes? I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So we worked it down, and it's at a comfortable spot between 30 and 45 minutes per hat.
So what did you alter to allow for that?
Some of the customization options and the way that I secure the bands around the hat. I'll go in with like my little, sewing needle and thread and do hidden stitches to make sure everything is secure. And I just had to be strategic about doing as few of those as possible, but still maintaining the integrity of the hat. And then also the materials that I use. I started with chiffon with some materials, and then I switched to cotton because cotton has more, friction, and it would hold on to the hat better, which means less stitching that I had to do. So it was finding all those little things, which I'm still learning and will learn whenever I launch the straw line for the summer.
Process is everything.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So how do you balance being a creative person that wants perfection, or you're always looking for what can be different or better with, we got to do this in a timely fashion, or reduce the cost and maybe not have as many options. That works against being creative. So how do you balance that?
It does. It's funny you brought that up because it's an ongoing conversation between my dad and I. It's always like efficiency and effectiveness. Like, they have to be an equal balance. So on the efficiency side, I have to make sure everything is being done quick, but not too quick that it doesn't feel like an experience anymore. And then, it does need to be effective and be aesthetically pleasing and not look like a mess. And I don't want that for the brand either,
No. You won't be here long.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's still ongoing. It's something I'm like working with myself every day. I've gotten better about my perfectionist tendencies, where I'm like, listen, it's never going to be perfect, but we can do the best that we can, and know that we can always learn from it and always build from it. And I think people are understanding of that too. That, like, it's not going to be perfect. Like, maybe this line isn't exactly as straight as it could be, or, the hat shape is just a smidge off. But I also think that adds character to the hat. That's what makes it custom. Machines do things
perfectly
much cleaner
every time
than we do.
Yeah.
But like, this is something that was made by hand.
Yeah.
Which I think adds that special effect to it. So I always remind myself of that. Like, this is a handmade product. It's going to have a few little imperfections, but that's what makes it special.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about doing something less custom to do more volume? Because right now it's obviously quality over quantity.
Yeah. I played around with the idea a few times, and I've always had people be like, oh, you should get in the store here, or you should, put your products out here. I don't think I ever want to mass produce. And that goes back to the custom experience aspect of it. Of it's meant to be special, and I want it to be special for each person, and make sure that it's exactly what they want, and the fit and everything, and that they have an enjoyable experience while creating it with me, which I can't do if I'm, pushing out hats. And then they're like, well, I have a J. Martin, but is it really custom if they have the same one?
Right.
Yeah,
that's like the Stanley craze that's going on right now. I mean, there might be not a million of the same version, but they're literally the exact same carbon copy of each other. So
Stanleys are huge.
Yeah. But like a hat that's literally made in front of your face for you, that's so much more special. And that makes sense to me.
Definitely.
To go out of your way to have a piece like that made for you. Yeah.
And I think people are looking for stuff that's more like that, especially with the trends and moving more towards like homestead kind of lifestyle, organic things that you make and bake and create. And I think we're craving that intimacy of having special things and being able to put our own touches on it rather than just something that was made and shipped from overseas.
Yeah. Well, especially in this world of everything just being like
Automated.
fast fashion and all the things and assembly lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did the trend for Nashville even come from? I was trying to look that up this morning. I was like, I've got a really good friend that has lived in Nashville for probably, I don't know, 15 years or something. And so it was before the wave. And talking to him, I mean, like Nashville culture, Nashville country.
Yeah.
Like country has its own version.
Right.
With Nashville now.
I
So
agree.
like there's just something, what is it about that place?
I don't know. It's fun for sure.
Yeah.
I've got some
I
friends
love
that
going
live
down
down
there.
there. Yeah. It's a blast. I think it's very similar to Vegas in some aspects.
I've never been to Vegas actually.
Me
So
either.
I have no
Don't
idea.
think I'll ever go.
Yeah.
But Nashville is enough. I think it's our eastern version of Vegas. Like we're still getting the bright lights and the show, but it's a little bit more our speed with the country music and the styles. A lot more Western than like the style that Jay Martin was going for, but I think it fits Nashville very well.
Yeah. We were talking before about trends and why do we do certain things. Do we just go to Nashville because it's Nashville and other people are going?
I think so.
Or is it like, surely there's got to be like a culmination of different things happening simultaneously to really attract
It's kind
people.
of like a melting pot too.
In what way?
Like, because you're pulling people from everywhere. Like, they're coming from the East Coast, they're coming from up north and from down south. And I, like how we said earlier, we like that social aspect of it. It's exciting thinking about who am I going to run into? Like, who am I going to meet? Who's going to be there? It's fun. Like, what did you do when you went?
Well, I just had this random thought of it being like an adult Disney World almost,
Yeah.
Went to, where did we go? We went to Jason Aldean's bar. Does Luke Bryan have a place, right? So I think we went to those.
They're really close to each other.
Like, that seems like a perfect thing if you're there for bachelorette party, bachelor party, whatever. But it still feels commercial. It doesn't feel like special, if that makes sense.
Definitely on Broadway. I think that first experience is like, whoa, this is like so amazing. But then like if you go back multiple times to Broadway, you're like, man, this crowd is here every night.
Yeah, I remember I went to South Carolina for my undergrad. And I went to, I think it was 2005 through 2007, went to 3 different SEC men's basketball tournaments, always in Nashville at the Bridgestone Arena. And we would end up on Broadway, just one of those nights.
Yeah.
And it was pre this rush, of course. And I just remember it being, it felt a little bit like a small, I don't want to say Times Square, of course, but like just the neon lights and that whole vibe was really special and unique.
It does.
And now it almost feels like it's getting a little bit too corporate. I don't know. I hate to say that, but it just feels like it might be on its plateau. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I would agree with those statements. I think.
I don't know why we're talking about Nashville.
No, I mean,
so much, but
I think businesses are noticing those trends of what's doing well for them, and just like any other business, like if something's going good, you're going to keep pushing it, you're going to keep selling it, and I think Nashville is just sold. Like it's doing really well, which I'm happy for. All the businesses and the community, and of course, it brings Tennessee a lot of outside people and income. Like that's great, but yeah, I think it's being capitalized on for sure, and it's, I think people are increasing the prices and making things a little bit less attainable, so people will keep being interested in it.
They start outpricing themselves as a destination people can go to for sure.
It's expensive.
Yeah. So I'm curious, have you given any thought over time as Nashville continues to evolve, for example? Like, how do you plan to adapt to those kind of market forces, if you will? Styles changing, trends changing.
Right. Well, the beauty of having a custom hat business is we can always change out the customization options. Something that I was intentional with in creating the business was finding what would fit Lexington best.
Mm-hmm.
Like Nashville has more of a Western look, sometimes a blingy look, right? Glitter and rhinestones
Yeah.
and lights. But we're not necessarily Louisville and the Derby. Like we're not super colorful, super frilly, huge fascinators. We're a little bit in between and kind of our own, where Nashville's all horse farms, horse racing, and we like to be on the ranch, but we also like a little bit of city.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it was a good melting pot between the two where, okay, we're not going to do really a Western look, but we still want it to have kind of an outdoorsy ranch feel.
Mm-hmm. So how do you do that, like technically with a hat?
It started with what kind of crown shape I was
Mm-hmm.
going to, move forward with. And the pinch crowns do really well because you can do like a fedora style with it. You can do like a rancher. And if you really wanted to do Western, it turns Western as soon as you shape up the brim into, more of the Western curved up look. But I think it's still a little rustic with the hat design options that I have. Like mine, layering up the different fabric ties and leather straps and putting in some feathers on the side. It gives it that more rustic but refined,
Mm-hmm.
which I think embodies Lexington
Yeah.
very well.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, like we're bourbon and horses. We're not out west. We're not all fluffy
Mm-hmm.
and glittery and glamorous, but we like to incorporate those kinds of looks, but still feel classy.
Right. We like nice things still.
Yeah.
What other ways are you creative?
Oh gosh, I like to paint, draw. I bake a lot.
Yeah. What do you bake?
A lot. Yeah, you just got me hungry. I was thinking about it. Cakes mostly, cheesecake, tarts, occasional cookies, anything. I'd love to cook dinner too.
Yeah.
Gosh,
how'd you get into baking? Just another creative outlet?
Probably my mama.
Okay.
Growing up, which all my family, they're all big cooks. They love to grill out and cook and have Sunday dinners. My mama took care of us before school started in kindergarten, and that's where we learned to sew. She would have us sewing quilts and making them for people. We'd bake carrot cakes in the kitchen and brownies, and of course she'd let us lick the bowl and the spoon, and that was the best part.
That raw egg in there,
I know. My mom was
good
like,
for you.
Mom, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And we're like, but it's still the best part, right?
Whatever. You're still here.
Yeah, it's Mama's house. Anything's legal.
Exactly. Right. That's funny. So what do you paint? What do you like to paint?
I love using oils
Okay.
the best. I like that because they're very blendable paint, and you can work with it over the course of a few days, like 2 or 3 days.
I don't know anything
it's still
about.
a little wet.
I don't know.
It's
I'm just over here.
You're right. They have more of the glowy look where it's soft edges, whereas acrylic you can get some really fine lines and vibrant paints.
Okay.
Landscapes are probably the easiest. People are hard to do. I think it's a little bit intimidating too when you start about thinking about drawing a person. You're like, well, but what if it doesn't look like them? You have to be very particular about everything. But with nature, nothing's perfect. It's all organic. Like, let's put a long tree branch over here. It's
But like people too, right?
Yeah.
I get what you mean. True. Like, you either look like the person or you don't, I guess. But yeah.
That's a lot of fun to work with. Charcoal, black and white charcoal.
So how do you do that with charcoal, by the way? I've never seen anybody actually work with it. Is it literally just holding charcoal?
You can get like a little charcoal stick where it's like, you can get all over your hands and it's just charcoal, or they make charcoal pencils where it's different gradients.
Oh, gotcha. I don't know anything.
You should get some and try it. It's really fun.
Check it out. Okay.
The white charcoal on black paper is really fun too, because then you're drawing in the negative. Like you only can draw the highlights, right? Yeah. Like you can't do the outline of a person because that's the shadows. So it makes your brain kind of do a little flip flop and try it out.
It's more like an intellectual exercise, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what do you do outside of being creative?
I like to read.
Yeah. What do you read?
It's a nice outlet. Like fantasy rom-coms and yeah, all the big long 7 or 8 book sagas.
Oh,
Just
gotcha.
it's a nice way to kind of like delve into another world rather than being in everyday life. I don't know, everyday life's fun, but I'm like, let's just do a little escape and
Yeah.
get away every once in a while, kind of
Yeah.
like a vacation.
I had such a hard time reading. I don't know if I had like dyslexia or what when I was in school, but just making those words make sense to me, I couldn't
Not
do
your
that.
thing?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, now I can.
Well,
So I don't know
yes,
what
I mean,
like flipped.
of course you can read.
But no, I just mean like if I go and I read something now, I'm actually interested and it makes sense. There was some sort of weird block like throughout school that like I read these words, I know what the words mean, but like the story wasn't jumping off the page at me.
Right.
Which is weird. So like I never really enjoyed reading because of that.
Well, sometimes the stories they chose in school weren't always the most intriguing.
Yeah.
Especially high school. Like, did you have to read Fahrenheit 451 or any of those?
I feel like what's Middle English? Who is the biggest writer?
I'm not good with names.
Like, is that like Beowulf? And I don't even remember at
Maybe,
this point.
yeah.
Like that's all I remember from high school. I don't even know what we read. I think it was just because it felt like busy work.
Yeah.
It was another part of it. Like
right.
I didn't have
it was like
that.
something you had to do.
Yeah. I mean, I always wanted to be good at classwork, so like I wanted to understand, but I don't know.
Yeah,
But like I forgot How to Rob a Bank up there, which is a book from the Freakonomics series. Like that book is great.
So what's the
maybe it's
genre?
So that's, I mean, you're from a business and finance world, so you might be interested in that. So Freakonomics is a series of books. Freakonomics, I forget, there's a third one, and then How to Rob a Bank, and a whole podcast series that's like years old. So if you're in podcasts, you should definitely check that out too. But that particular book, if I remember correctly, because it's been years, I've probably had it for like 15 years. I think it's like connecting two events that that are like seemingly totally disconnected.
Okay.
And then shows you how they actually intersect.
Okay.
So How to Rob a Bank is like, I forget what the other thing is, but it's like if you actually wanted to rob a bank, you need this other thing to happen in the world that would be like the premium time, the best time for you to actually get away with doing it.
Okay, I was curious if
Which
it was
sounds
actually
weird,
going to
but
tell you like
yeah. Again, I really don't remember. I need to go back and that's why it's here. I wanted to reread it. Because I like that concept of taking two things that are unrelated and figuring out how they intersect.
Exactly. Those are so fascinating to me. And I think everything in the world like that is related to on some level. But it's always finding what it is.
Yeah.
And
I've always been fascinated by the idea of like in the marketing world, for example, or in teaching or anything. We tend to try to view new things as, oh, well, we have to reinvent our behavior with this thing. Like social media comes out and businesses are like, oh, well, I don't know how to use this. I don't know what I'm doing with this. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, the person on the other side of the screen is the same customer you had before. So whatever the customers had, questions about or whatever their concerns were, address that. Just do it in this way now.
True. That's a really
and
good
we're
point.
Like, how do we talk to them? How you normally talk to them? Like, what do you mean? How do you talk to them? Like, just because a medium is different doesn't mean that how we communicate is totally different.
Yeah.
So I feel like a book like that just sort of changes the perspective for me as far as like, okay, the world seems complicated, but at the root of it, like it's pretty basic and has not changed very much at all.
Yeah.
So let's not try to overcomplicate some of this stuff.
We're just finding different mediums to use and newer things. That's a really good point, that it's still the same person on the other side of whatever you're using, on the other side of the phone, on the other side of your social media, but you're just choosing like the avenue that you communicate to them with.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it a lot easier for people learning how to use the new software or new technology to just keep in mind there's still like the simple, you know, basic, hey, we're just trying to talk to this person. And I think that makes it a lot more accessible for people too.
Yeah.
Like podcasts. I mean, you know, what, 5, 6, 7 years ago, it wasn't really that big, but now it's like people are listening to it in their cars, everywhere they go, like more so than music, I think. Like most of my friends are. And it's nice hearing people, I think, is what everyone really likes about podcasts.
Yeah.
Is you're not just hearing music over and over, which is good, but you're getting some social interaction that's pre-recorded. Like you're hearing people talk, you're hearing people communicate and laugh together and analyze things together without having to physically be there. So that's cool.
Yeah, podcasts are, it's kind of a strange journey they've been on. I mean, the year 2000 was about like the first time that podcasts really started. And there's just a little bit of a bump, and then it went away for a long time. And then, now here we are. It's like everybody's got one. So,
what's your favorite part about it?
About podcasting? Selfishly, it's the conversation, learning from other people, and just a look under the hood of the way that other people operate or think. I don't pretend to know everything at all. So like, I like learning a new way of thinking or a new process to consider, or I don't know, even just defending some of the things that I've thought. I don't know, just talking. I like to talk. So I like to learn as well. So it's like a perfect intersection of all of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like we're in such a weird information age right now. I mean, we can't even really go to social media and not want to learn something. You know, we don't turn it on like we do TV, where we want to be entertained by some fantasy, right? You know, some script. But now we're going to turn it on intentionally to learn how to do X, Y, Z better, or how to think better, or how to manage your business finances, or whatever it is. Like the content is out there.
True.
So it's like we're in this constant bombardment mode of info.
It's like, what are other people doing that's working for them?
Yeah.
And like, how could we integrate that into my life if it fits, you know?
Yeah. It's like one big Google search. It's like trying to find the cheat code to stuff.
Yeah.
But in a lot of different topics all at the same time on a For You page, where it's like you might see something that's like baking, followed by parenting, followed by something creative, followed by finance, followed by motivation, like just all in one big confusing place. True. I say confusing just because it's like, it's a lot.
It is.
So how do you use social? Because I know social is like a critical component to like how you're marketing yourself, and how in the world do you start a business in August? Now you're full time. So can you talk a little bit about how social, like why social anyway? Like why you decided to go that route? Maybe not TV or brick and mortar.
Definitely. I think the business structure and social media kind of played off of one another, because it was like, okay, if I'm not going to have a brick and mortar and I'm going to do pop-ups, that's an experience that I need to advertise rather than like try to sell people the product, because I'm selling the product and the experience. And the best way to communicate that to people is through social media, where they're getting like constant, pictures. They're seeing what other people are doing with the hats, how it's being worn, how it's being made, but in a short window, keep people entertained and make sure it's not too much. I'm not posting a 1 hour long YouTube video or anything. And I don't watch TV anymore, so TV never really was a consideration. But I think social works best, especially for the market that I was looking into. Mainly focusing on like 25 to 40-year-olds. And I know that most of them have social media, and then that's where they're getting their ideas from, if not from word of mouth. And even if they don't see it on social media, like they're hearing it from a friend. They're like, oh, look at this. And they immediately have a picture.
Right.
So it's a very visual thing too. It's like, oh, that looks nice. Like, I want to look at that. I want to learn more about it.
Yeah.
So I did start with a Facebook page and an Instagram page. And at first, I was keeping them both pretty involved. But then I learned Instagram was getting me way more interaction and leading to more sales overall. So now
And you said that you still have Facebook,
I
but
do. It's like,
how do you view it?
it's
My knee just keeps like
It's
falling apart. What is going on? I hope that's showing up in the mic.
it worked out in the beginning because Meta was great at linking the two profiles. So anything that I posted on one, it would automatically share to the other, which was nice because then I didn't have to get on one and then immediately go do the same thing on the other. And then it kind of started glitching and the link no longer works. So now it's like anything that I post on Instagram, I have to copy and paste and take it over to Facebook. I was like, this is just too time consuming, especially if it's not driving sales as well as Instagram is. So I just keep it for like the major announcements, like where I'm going to be every month. Any new videos of hat creation, I put them on there. But just like the day-to-day marketing, I don't really keep up with it that much.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook is favoring groups a ton. And pages don't even really show up.
Yeah.
You have to go find it.
Exactly.
Which is like, if I got to go find it, I'm not ever going to see it because I'm not going to find it.
Right.
I'm not going and searching Facebook for anything.
Right. And if you do see a post and you like it and you want to learn more about it, it's kind of hard to like navigate to the page, like you were saying. Like it's hard to navigate to that specific business page, and then you have to go to the photos tab, right? You can't just see everything right there.
And that UI UX, like trying to find photos on the page itself, is like a little. I swear these companies never use their actual product. Or if they do, like like they're on product teams and they have one job to do one very tiny thing within the overall thing. Like I was at a conference about a year ago. I think it was in Atlanta, maybe. And one of the senior engineers for Instagram, her one job on this earth is to be the chief person in charge of the music app or the music sticker inside of stories. Okay. Like that is, when you add music to a story, like that's their job is to do that.
Oh, okay.
So they don't think about how that fits in the overall structure. They just do that. I'm assuming that there's a team that's actually figuring out like, how does all this actually work from a user perspective? Yeah. But you would never know it because how they do stuff. Like you remember IGTV? Instagram tried their version of like YouTube sort of built into the app. It was weird.
I don't think I.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, that's probably why I didn't see it.
They buried it. They made it really hard to find. They made it impossible to actually use. It forced you into a horizontal configuration. And it's like people don't go to Instagram for long form content, but you're trying to train the consumer to do that. And it's like, you're never going to win if you're trying to train us to do something. Like just give us the product that we know and love and leave it alone. Right. I just wish they would do that.
Yeah. It's like we're always looking for something new to spice it up, but the long form doesn't really work that well.
No, I mean, TikTok is trying to go to long form right now.
Really?
Because I think you could do, Noah, do you know? Is it an hour?
Oh.
I think they're testing either 30 minutes or 60 minutes. Where you could, it's already at 10. It's been at 10 for a while.
That's what I thought you meant.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry. They're testing much longer, either 30 minutes or an hour for uploads.
Interesting. That's just YouTube.
They keep doing the same stuff that other platforms have tried and failed at. It's just YouTube. Yeah. These things are mature now. I mean, Facebook just turned 20 years old, which is crazy. And when I think about it, it was like I signed up for Facebook, I think 2 years in. So I've been on it for like 18 years, which is wild to even think about.
So you've seen all the changes then.
Yeah. I got in like right after, because it used to be college students only at certain schools. Then it was like all college students. Then college students could invite high school students that they knew. And then it like just kind of opened up from there. So they kind of forced this, oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Not urgency, but just not a lot of people could be on it.
Yeah.
basic word I cannot think of for whatever reason. But
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, so it's been a very interesting adventure with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like everybody's frustrated with platforms,
Mm-hmm.
but we all kind of feel like, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to use it anyway.
Yeah. True.
You know?
Very true.
And we do it because other people use it.
Yeah. Like you have to wait for the great migration of everyone to get off of it. Like,
Yeah.
like on MySpace. No one uses it anymore. We all moved.
Were you on MySpace?
No. I
Okay.
wasn't allowed at that
Oh,
point.
got it. Yeah. I really don't remember MySpace very much. I remember couldn't you put music on your
Yes.
homepage or
Oh, yeah.
whatever it was, your profile?
That was the big thing, because whatever song defined you was on your page. And like,
See, I don't remember it
mm-hmm.
very well. I remember seeing Facebook when it first started. For some reason, I have that like burned in my memory.
Mm-hmm. I think
And it's so basic too.
I think Facebook was a better integration of being able to connect people than MySpace was. MySpace was like, just look at my page and then we can DM you, you know, just the DMs and like the page of information. But with Facebook, like you can create groups and comment and like and share, and so it's a little bit more connected than MySpace was.
I couldn't imagine being on that product team though for something like Facebook and trying to sift through all the different possibilities.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting here
We're analyzing it already.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a lot to that. But I feel like if you just use the thing and you focus on yourself and you go, how am I enjoying this?
Mm-hmm.
And turn off that technical side of being in it.
Right.
And just be a user for a minute. Mm-hmm. I feel like it would be kind of obvious.
Yeah. I think that's also something related back to the initial question of like, you know, how I use Facebook and not MySpace. MySpace.
Yeah.
Instagram. I use Facebook on a personal level, mostly to see updates from my family or my close friends and communicate with them that way, since we don't all live in Lexington. Because you can, you know, send messages, and it's an easy way for my grandparents to message me, just with, you know, technology advancing, and there's so many platforms, but they're comfortable with Facebook. So it's like, that's where all my family's at. And
isn't that crazy, you know, though, that like the older generation is actually comfortable with a platform at all?
Yeah.
Because they used to just avoid phones in general.
Right. I think it's amazing. I mean, they've experienced it all, from no technology to this, and having instant messages, instant pictures, instantaneous communication with people that they don't live near. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch that mindset kind of shift from the oldest generation that's like, I'm never going to use something like that. Yeah. To then, you know, a little wave after that being like, you know, I actually kind of see the value in this, and not just totally knocking it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next handful of years.
Right.
As the only people left on Earth have only ever known cell phones and these devices and the platforms and everything else. So do you think we ever like swing the pendulum back the other way, where we're like trying to be disconnected?
I think it's happening a little bit.
Okay.
Like how we talked about earlier, I'm seeing more of like a homestead lifestyle, which that might just be what's popping up on my For You page, right? I don't know if that's...
Isn't that interesting, though? You know? Like, take note of that, because you're like, that's your perception, and that's what you get to see.
Right.
And it's hard not to perceive maybe the world is like that.
Yeah.
Should I be doing this too?
Is
right?
Reality,
yeah.
You know.
Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, yeah. Like I'm seeing a lot of people popping up where they're making their homemade sourdough bread and getting farm fresh eggs, putting chicken coops in their backyard.
Yeah.
So, which again, that might just be my perspective of what's showing up. But I think people are looking for that simplicity too, and the organicness of it without it, you know, being stamped in a store like this is organic, but it was kind of made in a factory too.
Yeah. Like, which part of this is organic?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm goofy and silly about this, but for products that say like cruelty free and it's like shampoo. I'm like, so what? We just didn't beat the hell out of this bottle? Like, I don't know. I'm just too literal and goofy, but
Yeah.
I understand what they're saying. But
What are you saying? Like,
huh?
what's on your For You page?
Oh, geez. A lot of like business content, investment kind of stuff. And I feel like just like any algorithm, they're trying to figure out like, okay, you like this category, maybe you'll kind of like this one too, which isn't really the same, but it's sort of related. So in general, business type things, because we do a lot of video and that sort of thing, a lot of video editing or how to kind of content that way. Just social media in general, like thoughts, high level of what's working, what isn't.
Are you seeing any major trends happening in the business world? Like things that are changing or evolving?
I don't know if it's changing and evolving, but I feel like just in general in business, it seems like the idea of community is growing even more and less competition, because we kind of understand how we can leverage each other's audience and leverage each other as people. I think there's a lot of, it seems like people going out on a limb and trying things sooner than maybe in the past. Like they would have been resistant longer to trying. And I don't know if that's really a fair thing to say. I mean, I just mean like when TikTok came out during COVID, there were a ton of people that did not want to get on it because, oh my gosh, another platform. I don't know how long this is going to be here.
I can't keep up with all of these on my phone.
Yeah, I don't know how to use it. Is it good for business? I mean, when it first came out, you couldn't run ads. There was no such thing as a professional page. Every account was the same. Yeah. So, and I don't know where that really comes from for people. I don't know if they need to see competitors starting to get into it, and then that's the signal for them to start. But it just seems like people are going out on a limb and trying things and not being resistant, not waiting so long. I don't know. Do you feel that? Am I making this up? I might be.
I could see that. I definitely agree on people looking for community and looking for more ways to connect socially, even not just digitally, but being able to, use everyone's gifts and talents and strengths and work together more than being like, I'm better than you, I can do better than you,
Yeah.
I think that's very toxic, and I hate to say that word because it's like so cliche, but I think we're all looking for a way to do better together rather than pin one against the other.
I feel that in like so many different layers. There's a lot of content out there. Now, again, this is perception, but there's a lot of content out there about being a better leader or a better CEO or a boss or whatever word you want to put there. And so that's like internal relationships of the company. And then there's also the content of how to leverage other companies or those relationships and why those are useful and powerful. And you shouldn't actually resist them. And then there's content on relationships with significant others and family and boundaries or what have you. So I think maybe with all of that stuff, again, if we kind of distill that down to like what are the parallels between all that, kind of like how to rob a bank,
Like all the roots.
it's just people at the end of it, and we're all just figuring out that it doesn't matter what hat, pun intended, I guess,
love it,
you're wearing, whether it's customer, employee, boss, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is. Like it's just people at the end of the day, and that they need something from you and you need something from them. And it's about open communication about what that is and understanding that you might have an employee that walks in the room that knows a lot more than you. And you don't have to have an ego and be like, well, I'm the boss. I'm the one that's supposed to know everything. It's like, leverage that. That's an asset to you. Why in the world wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, just what am I rambling about? I'm saying a lot of things. Noah doesn't even know. That's okay.
No, we kind of went down a little rabbit hole there.
No, but social's in a very interesting spot.
Yeah.
It's still like, I find that whole TikTok conversation about trying to shut it down because of the relationship with other countries and things, seems like that conversation has disappeared from the public eye a lot. And it's like, I don't really know why, because to my understanding, the things they were trying to demand didn't happen the way that they were trying to say, like it needs to come back on U.S. soil or some other country's soil. Maybe it did happen quietly and we're just not talking about it. I have no idea. But
I think that's one of the scarier things about social media is it's easy to blow something up really quick, but then it's also kind of easy to tuck something away and never hear about it ever again.
Yeah. Like, so it's hard to know what's a real
what's current thing. What's real information, what's fake information. Is the fake information being pushed or is the real information being pushed?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a lot to consider and a lot to think about, and I think there's both sides to all of it.
Yeah.
So
I think considering the source is always a massive part. Yeah. And I don't think that we talk about that enough. Like, I know we're in this weird time of people that have certain positions that we're supposed to trust, that people are now trying to make a narrative that you can't trust them anymore. It's like the whole damn thing is built on trust.
Yeah.
We have laws and rules and expectations of each other that we're not going to rob each other. And you know what? If you do, we have a book that tells us what's going to happen.
Exactly.
But that book only matters, and the words printed on the page only matter if we decide that that book
is trustworthy,
is useful to us anymore, and we believe it together. You know? I mean, that's all any of this stuff is. It's just somehow we've decided all together collectively that we have certain rights and here's what we do. And, a blinking yellow arrow means something that we're going to all agree not to ignore what a traffic light tells us, or, like so many levels of trust that we just kind of take for granted because it's just built into us.
Right. We've done it for so many years and it's a pattern. It's more of a routine now.
I mean, you go to a grocery store and that stuff with the FDA has been inspected by all sorts of people, and we have to create rules for why it's okay to be on the shelf or maybe not on the shelf, and all those kind of layers. And there's a lot of trust there. So I find that kind of interesting when we get into, we can't trust certain organizations over here, but that same organization, I can trust it over here. I'm like, how do you pick and choose? Like now,
like, have you done your research?
Yeah,
do you?
Yeah, when I hear I've done my research, my ear turns off. I'm already done listening.
Like, we're ready for a long rant. Yeah, I don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm not ready to hear it either. Yeah, world is crazy.
That's a good point.
So what do you have coming up? Back to you, and not social. In politics and whatever else.
Yeah.
So what's coming up as far as like J. Martin?
J. Martin is, I think it's about to be busy with Keeneland. That's how it was in the fall, and it was crazy, but great in a crazy way.
Are you already starting to make hats for Keeneland?
Yeah, I mean,
in April.
I have pop-ups every month, public ones and private ones, like private parties, and people either wear their hats every day or sometimes they're designing it to be a little bit nicer and like more vibrant for Keeneland. I'll probably wear this one to Keeneland, but I think I'm going to make another one because I want a few more myself. And then also at the end of spring, I'm going to be launching a straw hat line and run that through the summer and early fall.
Okay.
That way we can have something that's more suited for the warm weather and the sun, not these thick wool hats.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that. And I'm still working on curating which hat bases I want to offer. And then I'll move into, okay, what kind of customization options can we keep? Which I still think we're still going to do hat bands and feathers and some stitching. But like I can't burn straw hats. I can't brand straw hats. That might cause some issues. Um, so I'm looking into some other fun things that we can still keep to make it personalized, like maybe some pins that have your initials on them or things like that.
So how do you determine a hat base? Are you going purely off trends, things that you like, a mixture?
I still want to keep it in the style of J. Martin that I was talking about earlier. You know, not necessarily Western, not really like super derby-esque. I want it to be casual, but I want you to be able to feel like you can dress it up and wear it out to go to a nice dinner. You know, you're going to Jeff Ruby's that night, you can wear it there. But it kind of in between. And if you want to make two hats, make one casual, make one classic, you can do that, no problem. You know? I am looking at the classic styles. I think fedoras will always be around. The pinch crowns will always be here. Maybe some boater styles where it's just the round crown with a flat top, or even maybe like in a little inset. I think those would do the best.
Yeah.
But still keeping an eye out just for anything fun. I'm always down for a little fun something to throw in.
Yeah. Is it pretty easy to, like, if something came out today and you want to be part of that trend, could you hop on it pretty quickly?
I could. I order hats sometimes 2 or 3 times a month, and they come in within a week.
Okay. Wow.
So if I wanted to, I can. It's just I want to make sure that it fits the brand and it's going to be consistent and it's going to be a quality product for people. I've been kind of trialing some seasonal colors. Like I brought out a blue in the fall and it took off. So now I'm going to start keeping that one in stock.
Yeah.
And I just launched a garnet color. And it might not stay in full time, so it's going to stay seasonal, and we're going to see what the response is with that one. But as for everything else, I mean, if like I've phased out some of the customization options that just they didn't really, you know, fit just right. Like some people liked them, like that's great. I'm like, okay, we're seeing a pattern here that it's not really that popular, or it doesn't fit with the overall look of J. Martin.
Got it.
But yeah, that is something that I consider before purchasing anything new is like, does this fit the image of the brand? So, which it makes things a little bit easier, right?
Yeah, totally makes sense. So where can we find you on social?
I'm on Instagram at J Martin Hat Co. It's just the letter J and then Martin. And same thing on Facebook, J Martin Hat Co.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the J is for my name, Jannah, and then Martin is actually my hometown that I grew up in. So that's where that little combo came from.
Floyd
County,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Not Martin County.
Right, yeah.
I always get that question. You're from Martin County? No.
No. Where is Floyd County? That's bad. I don't know.
You know where Prestonsburg is?
Where's Prestonsburg?
Okay.
We're just going to keep playing this game.
Okay.
I should know these
Pikeville,
things. Yeah.
Eastern Kentucky, over there.
Okay. Over there.
Oh, yeah.
Got it.
Like you get on the Mountain Parkway and go until you can't go any further.
And then we're there.
That's where we are.
Okay. I get it. Well, I really appreciate your time and coming on here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Congrats on such quick success.
Thank you.
And good luck in the future.
Thank you. It's been fun. I've enjoyed chatting with you.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to the Lexington Business Show. Go right now, rate and review the podcast. It's how we grow and thrive and how we get more listeners and get to do a lot more cool stuff here on the show. Thank you.